Bianca. I turned and found my fiancé standing beside another woman. Amelia was beautiful, with soft eyes and one hand resting comfortably on Gideon's arm, body pressed close. She looked pleased. Gideon looked impatient, like he was in a rush to get something done with. "We need to talk," Gideon said. I glanced at Amelia's hand. I gathered. He had brought another woman to my grandfather's charity gala, walked straight into a room filled with our families, business partners, donors, and reporters, and somehow he was the one acting inconvenienced. The people nearest us had already stopped pretending not to listen. Gideon noticed too. He didn't lower his voice. Of course he didn't. "I'm ending our engagement." The room became quiet. My heart gave one hard beat. 3 years, and that was all I got. No private conversation. No warning. He had simply arrived with my replacement and announced the change like he was updating a dinner reservation. I looked at him. "I see." His expression tightened. "That's all." Apparently, I was already disappointing him. "What would you prefer?" "I don't know," a reaction. There it was. He'd wanted a performance. He was going to leave disappointed. I could fall apart later. He didn't get front row seats. "I'm in love with Amelia," Gideon continued. "She came back, and I realized I couldn't keep pretending." Amelia gave me a soft smile. "I'm sorry it happened this way." No, she was. People who were sorry did not arrive holding the man they had helped betray you. Still, I smiled back. "I'm sure." Her smile faded slightly. "Good." She wasn't as unbothered as she wanted everyone to believe. Gideon sighed. "Don't make this difficult. I've said 8 words." "Exactly." I stared at him. He had brought another woman to my family's event, ended our engagement in public, and already decided I was the difficult one. That level of confidence deserved medical study. He reached toward my hand. "The ring." I looked down at it. For one second, I remembered how happy I had been when he gave it to me. That memory hurt. I slipped it off before the feeling could reach my face. Then I placed it in his palm. "There." He stared at the ring. "You don't have to be cold." I nearly laughed. He had asked for the ring. I had returned it. Apparently, I was supposed to cling to it just long enough to flatter him. "I thought you wanted this over." "I do." "Then we agree." "We do not agree." His tone sharpened. "You don't get to act as if you're the one walking away." I looked at him. Does he think he gets to decide how I react too? Apparently he did. Gideon lowered his voice. "You'll tell everyone it was mutual." "No." His jaw tightened. "Bianca, didn't you just say I don't get to act as if I'm the one walking away?" "Don't be petty." "Petty?" He'd brought his mistress to my grandfather's fundraiser. "This isn't only about me." He glanced at Amelia. "She's already going to face enough attention." He wanted me to protect Amelia. Is he stupid? "She came here willingly," I said. Amelia's eyes hardened. "I came because Gideon asked me." "That doesn't make it better," I said, not even bothering to look at her. Gideon stepped closer. "Leave her out of this. She is standing in the middle of it." A few people nearby laughed under their breath. Gideon's face darkened. "See, this is exactly what I meant." "What did you mean?" "You're hurt, so now you're trying to punish us." I blinked. Who exactly was he talking about? It certainly wasn't me. "You should take some time," Gideon said. "Then you need to move on." He had ended our engagement less than 2 minutes ago. Now he was trying to give me advice on how to get over him. Remarkable. "I'll manage." "I'm serious." "So am I. And don't start dating someone just to make me jealous." "Has he met me?" "You think I would do that?" "I know you." "No, Gideon," I smiled. "You knew the woman who spent 3 years making your life easier, and that woman is no longer available." I stepped around him. He caught my wrist. The room went completely silent. I looked down at his hand. Then back at him. Let go. Before he answered, another voice came from beside us. She asked you to release her. Gideon let go. A man stood a few feet away. Alaric Devereaux. I recognized him immediately. He looked calm, but his attention remained on Gideon's hand. This is private, Gideon said. Alaric glanced around the crowded ballroom. You chose an unusual setting for privacy. A few guests laughed. I nearly joined them. Gideon turned toward me, already angry again. Are you really going to encourage this? Of course. Apparently, I was responsible for his behavior too. No. Then I turned toward the stage. I'm going to end it. I walked to the microphone and faced the room. My engagement to Gideon Beaumont is over. Every camera turned toward me. He requested that I describe the decision as mutual. Gideon went still. I won't. The silence deepened. This gala will continue, and every dollar raised tonight will still support the hospital expansion my grandfather worked so hard to fund. I smiled. Mr. Beaumont has already taken enough attention from the reason we are here. The applause began near the front, then spread through the room. I looked toward Gideon. He stood beside Amelia, holding the ring he had expected me to cry over. He looked furious. Good. At least one of us had finally given him the reaction he deserved. As I stepped down from the stage, Alaric met my eyes. He smiled. His smile was open and beautiful. There was no pity in it. Only respect. I smiled back. Gideon had wanted an audience. Now everyone had seen exactly who he was. I barely made it off the stage before Grandpa reached me. Are you all right? I smiled. I'm fine. He looked at me for a long moment. He'd known me since the day I was born. The smile fooled everyone else. Not him. His hand rested gently on my shoulder. You handled that beautifully. That almost made it worse. I wanted him to enjoy his gala. Instead, he was worrying about me. I'm sorry. He frowned. For what? This. I gestured toward the ballroom. The gossip, the reporters, they came here for your fundraiser. Grandpa shook his head. They're still here. I looked around. He was right. The auction tables were filling again. Guests were returning to their seats. The musicians had started playing. Life had resumed. Because of you, Grandpa said quietly. You saved the evening. Before I could answer, Naomi hurried toward us, tablet already in hand. We have a problem. I looked at the screen. Half the entertainment reporters had already uploaded videos. Aristiumpidi, AT Charity Gala. Business engagement ends in public. Not one headline mentioned the hospital. I closed the tablet. We'll deal with it tomorrow. Naomi blinked. Tomorrow. The hospital needs tonight. She stared at me for a second before smiling. I'll tell the media team. She disappeared into the crowd. Grandpa squeezed my shoulder. I'll be with the donors. You should. And Bianca. Yes. I'm proud of you. He walked away before I could answer. I watched him stop every few feet to greet another guest. He looked happy again. Good. That was all I'd wanted. Miss Westcott. I turned. Alaric had somehow appeared without making it feel like an entrance. I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all. I wanted to congratulate you on being publicly dumped. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. On refusing to let one selfish man ruin an evening meant for sick children. I looked at him for a moment. That was a much better reason. Thank you. I'd like to increase my family's donation. I blinked. You would. I was planning to. He glanced toward the reporters. Now I'd like the headlines to have something else to write about. For the first time that evening, I smiled without forcing it. I think Grandpa would like that very much. I wasn't asking your grandfather. I looked at him. I was asking you. I laughed softly. I'd like that too. Good. He held out a folded card. My direct number. I accepted it. If you ever need anything regarding the foundation. He paused. Or if you'd simply like coffee. That surprised me. Not because he asked. Because he didn't make it sound like charity. He wasn't rescuing me. He was asking. There was a difference. I'll keep that in mind. I hope you do. Across the ballroom, raised voices caught my attention. I didn't need to look. I already knew. Gideon. He was arguing with someone near the entrance. A moment later, he started walking toward us. Of course. Apparently, one public breakup wasn't enough for him. I should go, Alaric said. You don't have to. I know. He smiled. But I think you prefer fighting your own battles. I did. Thank you. He gave a small nod and walked toward another group of guests. Not once did he look back. I appreciated that. He trusted me to handle the rest. Gideon stopped a few feet away. What was that? I looked at him. What was what? Devereaux. He congratulated the fundraiser. I saw him give you his card. So, his jaw tightened. I thought we agreed to keep this respectful. I frowned. When did we agree to anything? You know exactly what I mean. No. I don't want people getting the wrong idea. I stared at him. He'd arrived with another woman. Now he was worried about appearances. I think that ship sailed. His voice dropped. Don't do this. Do what? Try to make me jealous. Has he met me? Gideon. What? You broke up with me. I know. So why would I organize my life around your feelings? For the first time since I'd met him. He didn't have an answer. Amelia appeared beside him. Gideon. She slipped her hand through his arm again. We should go. He didn't move. He kept looking at me. You'll understand eventually. I smiled. I understood the moment you walked in. His expression tightened. That's not what I meant. I know. I walked past them. This time, neither of them stopped me. The auctioneer tapped the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin with lot number 1. The ballroom quieted. I took my seat beside Grandpa. He smiled as the first bid came in. Then another. Then another. The room erupted into applause when the final number appeared on the screen. $2 million. For the Children's Hospital. I smiled. That was the headline I'd wanted all along. By the next morning, the fundraiser was no longer the biggest story. Neither was my broken engagement. It was the photograph. Someone had captured the exact moment Alaric handed me his card. The headline read, Who is the man who stood up for BINCA-ARDEN? Naomi walked into my office holding her phone. You've been promoted. To what? The country's favorite rebound. I held out my hand. She gave me the phone. The comments were almost entertaining. She moved on fast. Good for her. I always thought Devereaux was out of her league. That one actually made me laugh. Naomi looked offended on my behalf. What? If anyone's out of anyone's league, it's Gideon. I think the internet has already reached that conclusion. She grinned. I like this version of the internet. A knock interrupted us. My assistant stepped inside. Miss Westcott. Yes. Mr. Devereaux is here. Naomi's eyebrows shot up. He didn't call. He said he was already in the building for a meeting with your grandfather. That made more sense. Send him in. Alaric stepped into the office a moment later. He smiled. His smile was open and beautiful. I hope I'm not interrupting. Only gossip. Then I'm improving the conversation. Naomi stood. I suddenly remembered I have work to do. She absolutely did not. Still, I let her escape. Alaric waited until the door closed. I owe you an apology. I blinked. For what? I didn't think before giving you my card. I frowned. I don't understand. I've made your life more complicated. He nodded toward the phone, still lying on my desk. The headlines. I looked down at it. Then back at him. You think that's your fault. I suspect I contributed. I smiled. You gave me a business card. I did. The reporters did the rest. His shoulders relaxed slightly. I was hoping you'd say that. I've dealt with reporters before. I imagine you have. A comfortable silence settled between us. He looked around my office. I've never been here. I practically grew up in this building. I believe it. His eyes landed on a framed photograph. Me. Grandpa. A much younger Naomi. All three of us covered in paint. He smiled. I have questions. I was 8. I wasn't judging. You were. A little. I laughed. I knew it. His expression softened. I like hearing you laugh. The words slipped out so naturally that I wasn't sure he'd meant to say them. He looked mildly surprised himself. So do I admitted. He cleared his throat. I was actually wondering. He hesitated just long enough to make me curious. Whether you'd like to get coffee. Coffee. With me. Is this business? No. A pity date. Definitely not. Then why? He met my eyes. Because I'd like to know you. Simple. No speech. No grand declaration. Just the truth. I found myself smiling. I'd like that. Good. When? Whenever you're free. I opened my calendar. I have an hour this afternoon. I'll take it. The cafe was only 3 blocks from Westcott Holdings. Quiet. No reporters. No photographers. Just coffee. We had barely sat down when someone cleared his throat behind us. I knew that voice. Of course I did. Gideon stood beside our table. Amelia wasn't with him. His eyes moved from me to Alaric. I knew it. I looked up. Knew what? You wasted no time. I stared at him for a second. Then looked at Alaric. Then back at Gideon. Had he followed me? You really are trying to make me jealous. There it was. He actually believed it. Alaric leaned back in his chair. He didn't interrupt. He didn't rescue me. He simply waited. I appreciated that. I looked back at Gideon. I have a question. What? When you broke off our engagement? Yes. When exactly did you imagine you stopped being my business? His forehead creased. That's not what this is. No. No. You walked into my coffee shop to comment on my company. He looked genuinely confused. I was nearby. What a coincidence. It is. I waited. He didn't seem to realize how unbelievable that sounded. I came because I wanted to make sure you weren't making a mistake. I blinked. What mistake? He nodded toward Alaric. This. I looked at Alaric. He quietly sipped his coffee. Not amused. Not annoyed. Just patient. I looked back at Gideon. You ended our engagement. I know. You brought another woman. I know. And somehow. I tilted my head. You still think I need your permission to have coffee? For the first time since he'd arrived. Gideon didn't answer. The silence stretched. Finally, Alaric set down his cup. Mr. Beaumont. Gideon looked at him. I believe Miss Westcott asked you a question. Gideon frowned. This doesn't concern you. Alaric smiled politely. I was invited. Gideon looked at me again. Bianca. I sighed. I think we're done. You'll regret this. I laughed, not as much as I regret knowing you. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. I picked up my coffee. It had gone cold. Strangely, the conversation had done the same thing. 3 weeks later, life had settled into something that almost resembled normal. Almost. The headlines had finally moved on. Apparently, a celebrity divorce had replaced my failed engagement. I wish them well. Naomi walked into my office, carrying a stack of invitations. Good news. I like where this is going. We've been invited to the Sterling Foundation Gala. I took the top envelope. Are we attending? You are. What about you? I'm attending because you are. I smiled. That sounds more like bad news for you. She shrugged. It's in the job description. No, it isn't. It should be. I laughed. It felt good. 3 weeks ago, I hadn't been sure I would. Anything else? Naomi's smile became suspicious. Mr. Devereaux is picking you up tonight. He offered. You accepted. I did. You've had dinner together. She counted on her fingers. 5 times. 6. She grinned. I knew I forgot one. I shook my head. We've also discussed hospital funding, affordable housing, and why pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. She blinked. You've had 6 dinners, and that's your summary. It came up. Did it? It was a passionate debate. She sighed dramatically. I'll never understand you. Probably not. She stood. Oh, one more thing. What? Gideon's going to be there. That dampened my mood for exactly 2 seconds. Then it passed. So, Naomi smiled. I knew you'd say that. The Sterling Foundation Gala occupied the top floor of the Crescent Hotel. Alaric arrived exactly when he said he would. He stepped out of the car and opened my door. You look beautiful. I smiled. So do you. He looked down at his suit. I've never been called beautiful before. You're handling it remarkably well. I've had 30 seconds to process. I laughed as we walked inside. The ballroom buzzed with conversation. Within minutes, we'd been pulled into separate conversations. I spent the next hour speaking with donors and board members. Every so often, I'd catch Alaric's eye from across the room. He'd smile. I'd smile back. That was enough. I had just finished discussing a scholarship program when I heard a familiar voice. I knew this wouldn't last. I turned. Gideon. He looked almost pleased with himself. As soon as I saw you walk in with him. I waited. I knew exactly what this was. I had a feeling I wasn't going to enjoy the explanation. You're trying to prove something. Am I? You've made your point. I looked around. I wasn't aware I'd been making one. He sighed. You've spent 3 weeks being seen with him. Yes. You've made sure everyone knows. I frowned. We attended public charity events. Exactly. I looked at him for a long moment. Public charity events. Apparently those belonged exclusively to engaged couples. You've had your fun. I almost smiled. My fun. You've shown me you can move on. I blinked. He nodded. I get it. No. He very clearly did not. I think you've made your point. I looked at him. What point? That you're desirable. I actually laughed. Not politely. Not quietly. I laughed because I genuinely couldn't believe those words had just left his mouth. His expression hardened. What's funny? You. He frowned. I don't understand. I know. That answer seemed to frustrate him even more. You don't have to keep pretending. Pretending what? That you're over me. I stared at him. 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and he'd somehow made my entire life about him again. I've been patient. Patient. He'd broken off our engagement. He'd followed me to a coffee shop. Now he was congratulating himself for being patient. It was almost impressive. Gideon. What? I think we've discovered the problem. He folded his arms. You honestly believe every decision I make has something to do with you. His confidence didn't even waver. It does. I looked at him. There wasn't a trace of doubt on his face. He genuinely believed it. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Bianca. I turned. Alaric had crossed the ballroom. He smiled as he reached us. I've been looking for you. I was just leaving. He offered me his arm. I slipped mine through it. Naturally. Comfortably. Like we'd done it 100 times. Gideon noticed. Of course he did. There. He pointed at us. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I looked down at my hand, resting on Alaric's arm. Then back at Gideon. No. I smiled. This is exactly what you're talking about. He frowned. What? You keep talking. You keep deciding what I'm thinking. His mouth opened. You keep telling me why I do things. He didn't interrupt. For once. So let me make this very simple. The ballroom around us faded into the background. I don't wake up wondering how you'll feel. I met his eyes. I don't go to dinner because of you. I don't attend galas because of you. I don't smile because of you. I shook my head. I don't think about you nearly as much as you apparently think about me. Silence. Real silence. For the first time since our engagement ended. He looked uncertain. Just for a second. It disappeared almost immediately. You're lying. I smiled. There it is. What? The only answer you'll ever accept. I turned toward Alaric. Shall we? He nodded. I'd like that. As we walked away, Gideon called after me. You'll admit it eventually. I didn't bother turning around. Another month passed. The headlines changed. Not because people had lost interest in me. Because they'd found a new story. Apparently, Alaric and I were in love. According to one magazine, we'd secretly been dating for years. According to another, our families had already agreed on a wedding date. Naomi dropped both magazines onto my desk. I think my favorite is the one claiming you're expecting twins. I picked it up. They skipped the dating rumors entirely. They're efficient. I laughed. They're ambitious. Naomi sat across from me. They've also decided Alaric bought a vineyard in Italy for your honeymoon. I don't even drink wine. They didn't ask. I set the magazines aside. I suppose I should let him know we're apparently having twins. He'll probably ask what you're naming them. I smiled. He probably would. Naomi watched me for a second. There it is. What? That smile. What smile? The one you only have when someone mentions Alaric. I rolled my eyes. We've had dinner. 12 times. I know. We're having dinner again tonight. I know. And you're smiling. I usually smile before dinner. You absolutely did not 4 months ago. She stood, still grinning. I'm just saying. Please don't. You like him. I have work to do. That's not a denial. She walked out before I could answer. At 7 o'clock, Alaric was waiting outside Westcott Holdings. He opened the passenger door. Good evening. Good evening. As I got into the car, he looked at me for a moment. What? You seem happier today. I've apparently been secretly dating you for years. He smiled. I read that one. The twins were a nice touch. I thought so. You didn't question the twins. I assumed we'd discuss names over dessert. I laughed. You've become impossible. I've always been impossible. That's true. He closed the door. A few minutes later, we were on the road. I have a question. I'm listening. Why haven't you corrected the rumors? He glanced at me briefly before looking back at the road. They aren't hurting anyone. They're also not true. No. So. He was quiet for a moment. I don't mind people believing I'm taking you to dinner. I looked out the window. That answer warmed my cheeks far more than it should have. He noticed. I've embarrassed you. No. You looked away. I did. I'm sorry. I laughed softly. Please don't apologize for being honest. I'll try not to make a habit of it. I don't mind if you do. Neither of us spoke for the rest of the drive. Oddly, the silence wasn't awkward. It never was. Dinner lasted longer than we'd planned. By the time we stepped outside, the city was already glowing with evening lights. I was thinking, Alaric said. That can be dangerous. I've been warned. I believe it. He smiled. I was wondering if next Saturday. He stopped as voices drifted toward us. It might not be the best time. I turned. Across the street, Gideon and Amelia were leaving another restaurant. They hadn't seen us yet. Too late, I said quietly. Gideon looked up. His eyes found me immediately. Then Alaric. Then the space between us. He crossed the street before Amelia could stop him. Bianca. I waited. You've been busy. I'm sorry. You've made your point. I frowned. What point? That you can replace me. I stared at him. Replace you. You broke up with me. I wasn't aware I was trying. You've spent the last 2 months making sure everyone sees the two of you together. I looked at Alaric. Then back at Gideon. We've gone to dinner. Exactly. Apparently dinner was now a crime. I told you this would happen. I'm sorry. You couldn't let it go. I blinked. Who exactly was he talking about? Because it certainly wasn't me. I moved on, he continued. You should too. I looked at Amelia. Then at the hand still linked through Gideon's arm. Then back at him. Gideon. What? I think you've confused the two of us. His forehead creased. You keep talking as though I'm chasing you. You are. No, I smiled politely. I think you've mistaken being seen in public for living my life. His expression hardened. You know what I mean. I really don't. You wanted me to see this. He nodded toward Alaric. Didn't you? I looked at Alaric. He was watching quietly, exactly as he had the last time, waiting to see if I wanted him to step in. I didn't. I looked back at Gideon like I was looking at something particularly stupid. Amelia gently touched his arm. Gideon. He ignored her. His eyes stayed on me. You've changed. I smiled. I certainly hope so. Alaric finally spoke. Our reservation for dessert is in 10 minutes. I looked at him. I'd hate to be late. So would I. I slipped my arm through his. Naturally, comfortably. Just because I wanted to. As we walked away, I heard Gideon call my name. I didn't bother to turn around. 2 weeks later, I was halfway through reviewing next year's hospital budget when Naomi knocked on my office door. He insists he won't leave. I didn't have to ask. Gideon. She nodded. He says it's important. I closed the folder. Send him in. Naomi looked surprised. Are you sure? I'd rather get it over with. She disappeared. A moment later, Gideon stepped into my office. He looked around before closing the door behind him. This won't take long. I hope not. For a second, neither of us spoke. He'd been here dozens of times over the last 3 years. Now he looked like a visitor. I've been thinking. I was afraid of that. He ignored the comment. I made a mistake. I waited. Not because I was surprised. Because I wanted to know which mistake he meant. I handled everything badly. That wasn't the one. I shouldn't have done it at the gala. Closer. I should have spoken to you privately. Closer still. But there it was. I still think ending the engagement was the right decision. Of course. He wasn't here to apologize. He was here to negotiate. I don't understand why we're having this conversation. His brow furrowed. Because things have gotten out of hand. What things? You and Alaric. I looked at him. We're seeing each other. I know. I thought. He hesitated. I thought after a while we'd be able to be friends. Friends? The word almost made me laugh. You brought another woman to my grandfather's fundraiser. I know. You publicly ended our engagement. I know. You accused me of trying to make you jealous. His jaw tightened. I was angry. You grabbed my wrist. I apologized. No. He frowned. You've never apologized. Silence. He searched his memory. I watched him realize I was right. I suppose I haven't. No. He looked away. I didn't come here to argue. Then why are you here? He looked back at me. I don't like who you've become. I blinked. Excuse me. You've become cold. I almost smiled. No. I hardly recognize you. I believe you. He frowned. What does that mean? It means you've spent the last 3 months describing a woman I don't recognize either. He stared at me. I miss who you were. I nodded slowly. The woman who answered every call. He said nothing. The woman who rearranged meetings because you were running late. Still nothing. The woman who defended you even when you were wrong. He looked uncomfortable. I didn't ask you to do those things. No. I smiled politely. You just expected them. His mouth opened. Closed. You've changed, he repeated quietly. I've stopped volunteering. The room fell silent. For the first time since we'd met. Gideon looked genuinely uncertain. Not angry. Not defensive. Just lost. I thought, he began. What? I thought you'd always. He stopped. I finished the sentence for him. As be there. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. I finally understood. This had never been about Amelia. Or Alaric. Or the engagement. Gideon had simply believed I'd remain exactly where he'd left me. Waiting. Available. Reliable. He hadn't expected me to keep living after he walked away. My office phone buzzed. Naomi's voice came through the speaker. Mr. Devereaux is here. I pressed the button. Thank you, tell him I'll be right out. Gideon's expression changed. You're seeing him now. Yes. You always make time for him. I looked at him for a long moment. There it is. He still thought this was about schedules. About time. About who got the better version of me. It never occurred to him that people protect what they value. You asked me once if I'd changed. I stood. I have one question for you. He looked up. When was the last time you did something that made me want to stay the same? He didn't answer. Because there wasn't one. I walked to the door and opened it. This conversation is over. He remained where he was. Bianca. Yes. I never thought you'd actually leave. I met his eyes. I know. Then I walked out. Alaric was waiting in the reception area. He looked up from his phone and smiled. His smile was open and beautiful. Am I early? By 3 minutes. I can wait. I'd rather not. I offered him my hand. He took it without hesitation. Neither of us looked back as we left the building together. This time, there was nothing behind me worth seeing. Thank you so much for listening to Dusklit Audio. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the story. Leave a heart or thumbs up in the comments if you want more.